Hello, my name is HYLIA, and this is my submission for Frost Fatale 2020 for Cadence of Hyrule, Crypt of the NecroDancer featuring The Legend of Zelda, Story Mode, any%. Before we start the video, I want to go over a couple of things because there is going to be a lot of information and not enough time in there to go over everything. So, one of the things to mention is for a marathon scenario, that random seed option that you see on the screen, that can be changed to a specific seed. And that could be a donation incentive, and it can be anything alphanumeric. Letters, numbers, I think possibly symbols, but mostly letters and numbers. Another thing is that for in-game timing, time starts when Zelda is awakened. We can choose to just do time start on pressing start game for real-time RTA. Also, the reason we are going to be choosing Zelda is because her character-specific weapon, the rapier, is the best available, and her R ability, Nehru's Love, is very powerful when timed properly. She also starts off in Hyrule Castle early, which always is centrally located, and makes mapping out the required landmarks significantly easier and faster. So, without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and start the video. We could technically choose Link, and Link is a stronger choice for earlier players who haven't been playing as much, but Zelda is the one that speedrunners use. So you'll be noticing early on that I'm rapidly pausing and unpausing in what we call bleep loops after the sound effect. I'm doing this at a specific timing because, similar to Crypt of the NecroDancer, this game is tied to the beat such that I'm only able to move to the beat. As such, and because the overworld is procedurally generated, I'm able to glance at the map briefly without losing any time, since I pause just after moving and then unpause right before the next beat comes along. Repeating this every other beat as long as I need to continue finding landmarks such as dungeons and various shops, and I'm not threatened by enemies on the screen. The first landmark that I can see over to the right, 2 tiles over and 1 tile down, is the Lost Woods entrance, which will give us our first Cadence Cave. There are 4 Cadence Caves, 1 in each main area where a dungeon is located. The first one we open gives us the loop, which allows us to teleport to any Sheikah slate we've previously activated. The second gives us the character's L button ability. The third enhances all characters' R abilities, and the fourth allows Cadence to even be played. We typically only ever get the first 2 in normal speedruns, particularly in racing situations. And for world record and PB attempts, the fastest typically only take the first 1. What you're seeing here is what we call Poison Pond. It always has a key in the middle of it, and you have to take damage or have either a hookshot or a boomerang in order to grab it without taking any damage. You'll notice that these little mini bosses always are dropping some sort of temporary item. All items have a durability to them. That is a shovel, torch, ring, and boots. They have different methods of their durability being reduced, though. Shovels for digging, torches for being inside, rings for taking damage, and boots for taking steps. What you saw back there was me hitting the Sheikah slate for the Goron shop. We'll be coming back for that later after we grab a coupon. But now we are on our way over to the GERUDO ruins and the GERUDO village. Here we'll be doing a specific note puzzle. The note combination is always the same, but the layout of the notes' colors are distinctly different every single time. The Power Glove allows us to do a lot of different skips and tricks that help speed us along or get to things faster, or even do some tricks that sometimes the devs don't intend, or oftentimes the devs do. What I'm picking up here is the Titanium Dagger. Titanium is a weapon modifier that just means deals 2 damage base instead of 1. We're also going to detour slightly here in order to pick up the Din's Fire upgrade for Zelda. It is Zelda's L ability, and then we will be hitting the Sheikah Slate for the GROTTO Ruins dungeon and then teleporting away. You'll be noting that the timing that I'm using for Nehru's Love is right before I'm about to be hit. This allows me to reflect whatever damage I'm about to receive back at the enemy, which is why Nehru's Love is the preferred choice for speedrunners. So now that we've got the GROTTO Ruins dungeon unlocked, we are going to make our way up to Hyrule Fields and Lake Hylia. Hyrule Fields is always right in front of Hyrule Castle, and where we'll eventually come back to after getting all of the instruments. Below that is Lake Hylia. You had a brief glimpse of it there, and we'll be coming right back to it from the other side. In the past, we would clear this screen in order to make it faster to move. Anytime that a screen is clear of enemies, you go into what is called fixed beat mode. You move a lot faster, and you're able to do a couple of extra glitches like duping consumable items. So here we'll be waking up the Zora Prince up top. He's been put to sleep by one of these spirits. In particular, we'll be killing the ghost that has no shadow and spawns a spirit that we just Nehru's. Otherwise it would be a much longer fight. Then we hit the Sheikah Slate and move on. I noticed earlier, as I was moving through, that that KAKARIKO village is to the west of Hyrule Fields. In KAKARIKO village, we need to get a hibiscus potion within the crypts to wake up Link. While we're there, this is the slowest dungeon music available, so we will be killing Freddie Merchantry, the shopkeep. Yes, it is named after Freddie Mercury, in order to get a coupon for the Goron shop. So right now you can see the activity of what my auto shovel is doing. It gives me the ability to dig stuff that is always one space orthogonally away. Orthogonal being north, south, east, west. Freddy also has a nice selection of items available. Almost always there will be a key. In story mode there always will be a key. Also there was the Torch of Wisdom, which reveals where items are located and what they are. This will help us to find replacements if the durability runs low, and also seek out other useful things like an attack while moving weapon, such as the flail or ideally the rapier. I also picked up back there the Courage Shovel, which, similar to the auto shovel, allows us to dig while moving, but it gives me invulnerability frames whenever I move into the dug spot, and specifically the turn of digging that spot. Finally, we grab any keys we can find in the walls, and then unlock the door to kill Shadow Link before teleporting back out. We need a total of 8 to 9 keys over the course of the run to unlock mini-boss rooms in the 4 instrument dungeons, KAKARIKO Crypt, and 3 for Hyrule Castle, HC for short. Actually, anyway, and an additional one might be needed if we find a weapon we desire in a gold chest in one of the pre-HC dungeons. We woke up Link and spent the coupon at the Goron shop for the Goron Locket in just a bit, and then we continue to the final overworld landmark before entering the instrument dungeons. The Goron Locket is helpful for the GERUDO dungeon, and occasionally the final dungeon. Our final landmark is to travel to the cliffs so that we can enter Death Mountain and reach the Temple of the Storms. Thankfully, there is a half block on this screen. That's the green block that I'm carrying right now. And so we can take the shortcut. There are 3 main methods to take this shortcut. The method I'm using is tossing 2 half blocks into this area, one up above and one down below. This allows me to just staircase up onto the upper cliff and make my way up. You can do the same, but with a bomb boost while standing up on the top area, or you can pull the turbine onto the half block, then lift the half block out from under the turbine, use it to hop back up, then enter the Death Mountain screen from the same tile the turbine originated from to delete the turbine. Other methods also exist with shields and tower shields and iron boots. After hearing the Hishika Slate, I switched to Link to trigger the button inside to skip the first floor of Temple of Storms. There is a method that uses 2 bombs that almost any character can use, but it requires being able to tank 2 hearts of damage, whereas the Link method only takes 1. I also take the bow to help with the Octavo fight later in Hyrule Castle. Here, I noticed that there's some Boots of Power in the lower right. Boots of Power increase your damage by +1. So I'm now doing 3 damage. And then I'm going to be making my way over to grab a couple more keys and then kill the floor 2 mini-boss. So right now I'm at 4 keys. I've already used 2, so that is 6 of the 8 to 9 keys that we need. So the fight up now is Glockenspiel. We use bombs to help speed up the fight and deal a bunch of damage to multiple Gleok heads simultaneously. And then, if we get a flawless, which is not taking any damage and not missing a beat, then we unlock a blue chest, a red chest, and a 5 diamond pickup. You get to choose one of those. The blue chest is always a base weapon of some sort. Luckily, it was the rapier. So that was going to be my main choice. With rapier in hand, I teleport to Zelda's balcony back there to swim behind Hyrule Castle to a hidden room where you can get 1 free weapon infusion. The rapier is the most intuitive of the move and attack weapons. At melee range, it acts like a dagger, but from 1 space away you lunge at the enemy instead, dealing +1 damage over the weapon's base damage. Here you'll see me swimming through lava. That's because of a combination of that Goron locket that we picked up earlier, and also the Zora flippers. What the Goron locket also does is prevent us from taking damage on hot coals, which are a major theme of this particular dungeon. The infuse I chose was Obsidian. Obsidian weapons' base damage is based off of your current rhythm multiplier and can be seen in the weapons icon in the upper right, which is the leftmost icon listed. With 0 arrows, it deals 1 damage. After 1 to 4 consecutive kills without taking damage or missing a beat, it deals 2 damage and shows 1 up arrow. After 5 or more kills without taking damage or missing a beat, it deals 3 damage, indicated by 2 up arrows in the icon. Missing a beat or taking damage resets back to 0 arrows. Your combo can also be seen based on how your Triforce pulsates in the bottom. If it looks normal, you're at 1 damage. If there's some electricity sparking, you're at 2. If it's flashing colors of the rainbow as well, then you're at 3. Otherwise, this is the this was the base Guitarmos Knights fight, and it's a relatively simple fight. I chose to do it earlier on because I prefer doing the Wizrobo and Gomaraka's fights on version 2. So for Frozen Grotto, the first floor skip abuses the ice physics by moving a grabbable block down, sliding into it and pushing it, and then using the power gloves to grab it right as I'm in front of the path to the stairs, stopping my momentum. I'm going to go ahead and take a quick aside while we're navigating this dungeon to mention how we navigate dungeons. I'm trying to look for those green fences on the top of solid walls, which is what indicates the mini-boss room from the key arena room, and also locks any other enemies from entering or exiting. There are 2 different types of big key rooms. What you'll notice, I'm sliding into the snowflake. At that point, it was a completely harmless bump into the snowflake. If the snowflake isn't blocked by the Arctic Wolfos, then I can wait until it moves next to the ice block to start sliding into it and then skip it. There are a couple of AXBY items that make it quicker as well and not require the snowflake, otherwise you have to do the long way. And that was Wizrobo. Wizrobo is one of the more RNG dependent fights, but thanks to sliding in and getting a lunge for 4 damage and then a lucky RNG pattern, I was able to quickly dispatch of Wiz Robo. So now we are navigating our way through the Lost Woods towards the Lost Swamp. I equipped the hookshot in order to make traversal a bit quicker. The hookshot can latch itself onto anything tree-like besides tree mimics within 6 spaces, 5 spaces between you and the target, moving you to it a beat later. It can also latch onto Sheikah slates, Armos statues, and a couple of other things. The way to tell which path to take is the hardest higher level enemy on a given screen. Usually it's the darker one. So here in the Lost Swamp lobby, I just pick up that box and toss it onto the box onto the button on top to trigger the stairs to floor 2, since I don't need any more AXBY items that the dungeon chest has. In previous versions, there were methods to skip straight to the big key room without having to traverse through the dungeon at all. However, while we use those methods when available, the community as a whole definitely is glad that they've been patched out. There are going to be 2 different big key room variations in this dungeon, but both have enemies in different locations and amounts. So neither one is particularly faster or slower. And then the Go Maracas fight itself is relatively straightforward. Hit the eye when it's open, and just keep in position in order to keep hitting that eye when it opens up, which is typically after doing some sort of attack, like the web attack or the laser. It then goes into phase 2, where it's slightly madder and slightly faster, as also the music does as well. So now we're going to be teleporting to Hyrule Fields to enter through the barrier now that we have all of the instruments. As you can see, my ring and boots durability are fairly low. So if I take too much damage or step too many steps, then they're going to break. I'll have to find a replacement of some sort. You just have to light that torch in order to open the dungeon. There are various methods. The main ones that we use are bombs and bomb shoes. If you can't find it or aren't able to have any of those methods, or you aren't able to use gloves, then another option is in order to have hover boots and a torch. And as you saw back there, I got sniped by a guard, killing my Ring of Piercing. Rapier has an interesting property that you saw that is automatic on its legendary version, but can also be activated normally otherwise. If you use Nehru's before you do a lunge, and the lunge can cause knockback, it will knock the enemy back. But only after having done Nehru's, otherwise it just does a normal attack. Knocking an enemy into a bottomless pit kills them, even mini bosses. And so it's much faster in order to do that to the Dark Nut than to just constantly attack it. Because of the shield and losing the piercing rate. Up ahead is the Octavo fight. As I head for the stage, I get a Wiz Robe kill to bump my obsidian damage to 2. And also equip the Enchant Weapon Scroll, which gives +1 damage for 100 beats. If the power boots had lasted long enough, then that would have meant one-shotting every single phase at even just damage level 2. Let's go. But a lunge is good enough as long as I'm at multiplier 3. Currently I'm not. After this phase I will be. And this is the main use for the bow, is in order to deal that 1 extra damage before or after he teleports. And there was a one-shot because of lunge plus enchant weapon. The main way to deal with those note lines is if there's 3 weapons coming at you, then move up, otherwise move to the side. Octavo down, we move on to Future Hyrule. Surprise! Octavo runs to the future and we give chase. Also, Cadence is here to help some. Future Hyrule features the most upgraded versions of each enemy, so it's a very dangerous dungeon and also must be run through all 4 floors in a single go. I noticed some boots of power up there in order to help deal with the Obsidian risk versus reward mechanic of trying to maintain combo. Future Hyrule also features the most NecroDancer-like floor layouts in that the mini-bosses are allowed to free roam from the staircase room, and the staircase is visible but locked until the mini-boss for the floor is defeated. As you can see, the floors are also particularly crowded. It's faster to just go ahead and pick up the glass that I'm getting rather than trying to avoid it, or especially switching off of it and just letting the glass break in order to get back to my obsidian rapier. I like doing that bomb toss technique in order to open gold walls and other walls, because oftentimes there's 2 walls that I wanted to be destroying, and it helps to ensure that I'm saving time. And then I also get a Ring of Piercing for free right here at the end, right before the end of the floor, which is the final floor of the dungeon. So coming up is going to be the Ganon fight, or as we like to call the Ganon fight, because Nintendo probably didn't like the idea of having Ganon be also punned like all the rest of the other bosses. So Ganon freezes our buddies Link and Cadence. We're supposed to free one or both of them in order to attack him once to break his shield, and then again to actually damage him. However, bombs deal 2 damage, and Neighbor's Love's reflection can also count as damage. So I'm mostly just going to leave Link and Cadence in their little ice shells and prevent them from potentially having me have to worry about them. But since I already broke Link out, might as well leave him out and just do the typical way for the last hit. Phase 3, we need to Phase 3, we need to de-ice our friends and then get all 3 people into individual Triforce pieces to bring down the beam. Time ends as soon as the 3rd person locks into place on the Triforce piece. And that is the beam. And that is the Cadence of Hyrule story in 8%. 2041! Thank you very much for watching. I know it was a lot to take in, but hopefully it was an enjoyable experience. And I hope you consider this run. Thank you very much, and have a nice rest of your day.